just about saying today, but I was thinking, actually, just I was uploading this, and I think I've thought of it recently, like, what if Facebook does this thing where it just doesn't upload and YouTube uploads, but I'm looking at Facebook and not realizing that YouTube is uploading at that time. That'd be really awkward, I gotta admit, because sometimes it just doesn't upload for ages, and then I'm like, is this going to upload or what? On Facebook, sometimes it's on YouTube as well. But anyway, I hope I won't be too cringeworthy. I hope people will enjoy these videos, because sometimes I think, like, I don't want to be too cringeworthy. I hope I don't bore people or offend people or whatever, most importantly, and that kind of thing. But anyway, another thing I was thinking about is for these videos in February, I guess I welcome all possible viewers. I welcome the views. I welcome the opinions as well, those type of views. So both type of views, viewership and views and opinions. And I welcome subscribes, of course. I welcome anyone to subscribe and watch, of course, and that kind of thing. But I guess the main target market really would be, or is, African Americans and those interested in empowering African Americans for whatever reason. And I did mention recently that how for these videos, if they ever get monetized, I would love to donate them any profits, or as much of the profits as possible, preferably all of them, to helping African Americans. So even if you find me boring or annoying, it's still, if you support African Americans, it's still worth checking out. I thought I'd just say that. But anyway, this is part 4 of Black Wall Street, which I didn't finish last week. My plans for helping and supporting Black Wall Street. I hope these videos will inspire people to check out the official Black Wall Street on their website and on their official YouTube channel and that kind of thing, and see how you can support those black-owned businesses and that community. But yeah, this is the 4th and final part, and as per usual, I thought, because I didn't get to finish it last week, but I thought for part 4, again, as per usual, that I'd talk about what I hope to achieve looking into the future. And I normally recap what I talked about in parts 1, 2, and 3, because it was a whole week ago and my brain's just not working. I probably can't remember that much of it really, but so yeah, I hope to talk about what I hope I will have achieved in the future, in the next 5 to 10 years or whatever, let's say by 2030 or whatever, or ASAP really, in the next 5 to 10 years or whatever, as I say. But again, ASAP. Anyway, these are pointers number 31 to 40 as per usual. Again, finishing off what I didn't do last week, and hopefully tonight, talking about finishing off, I hope I get to do parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 of my goals of supporting black poets, African American poets mainly, and talking about a list of them to raise their profile. But anyway, here goes. So these are points number 31 to 40 as per usual. So number 31, obviously I hope, well, I mean, it already is, as far as I'm aware, the official Black Wall Street has already been recreated, thankfully. And I hope they'll do as well as possible. And I hope allies like myself, wannabe allies, potential allies, or whatever, can find a way to put our ideas and supporting them into practice to help their community and help them to help each other and themselves and that kind of thing, themselves and each other. So hopefully people like me will be able to support as many black-owned businesses and things like that as possible, including by young people, women, older people, and black people generally, especially in America, for February each year. So hopefully we'll do this annually, people like myself. Obviously, for others, they will probably do so on a daily basis, but for people like me, I normally like to stick to a certain theme for each month. Number 32, I hope to learn as much as possible about, I suppose I did say that in point number 2, I sort of vaguely remember, but I hope people like me learn as much as possible about their past, present, and, well, I guess we can't learn about the future till it happens, but the past and the present of Black Wall Street, like what happened to it, how it was ran, what it achieved, and what it could achieve now, and hopefully will achieve even more than the original Black Wall Street achieved before it was burned to the ground. But yeah, hopefully learning about them and helping them and listening to African Americans, especially from Black Wall Street, and seeing how we can unite African Americans together maybe as much as possible, and maybe even the black diaspora. Due to my use of alliterations, I hope to support black women in business as well, especially on Wednesdays and possibly Fridays as well, and maybe support black men in business on Mondays, in my own way, or try to at least. I know I don't do it very well, but at least have a go at trying to do that. I do struggle to put it into practice, but I hope to find talking about learning, I hope to learn ways to put things into practice and to read suggestions and things like that. And moving on, I was going to say some point number 32, but I'm going to move on to number 33. I know I talked about tax exemption. That's another thing. I was thinking, I was working out, and I worked out my maths is not very good, but I think I figured it could be roughly. I'd be surprised if this was the accurate number, but I thought if there are, I think it's actually more than this, but I thought if I conservatize numbers, about if about 10% of America is African American or black or whatever, I think it's actually about 15%. But if we said 10%, which would be about 30 million, and again, I think there are actually more than 300 million Americans, which would mean the number would be a bit higher. So again, conservatizing it a bit, that would be. So yeah, if there were 30 million African Americans, and on average they earn about 40k a year. I worked out it was. I think it's actually a bit higher than that again, but again, conservatizing numbers once again. So I normally like to do that just in case. But if you took that many and you said roughly they pay 20% taxes, like I'm thinking of income tax, but maybe they could be exempt from other taxes. If they got tax exemptions, they could. I worked out it was about 60 billion. I'm not sure how accurate my figures were, but again, that was quite a conservative number. So that number, $60 billion, they would be able to reinvest it in their communities and that kind of thing. And even talking about as many African Americans, I suppose you probably won't get all of them, of course, but if you got as many African Americans and allies, I guess, as well as possible. I often think of like POC, I mentioned that recently, but POC and other minorities, even non-WASPs perhaps, or even people who are against white supremacy or whatever, coming together to support each other, investing in each other's communities, helping each other to learn, teaching each other, saving together, and I think even more importantly, investing together. I think much more importantly, in fact, when you save money, the interest rates are quite low. So they say no one really gets wealthy by saving. It's more investing and that kind of thing. But saving's more what like middle class people do, but upper class people do more investing, I assume. But there was a point I was going to say, but I completely forgot. I hope they can unite as much together and support each other as much as possible. And it's really annoying, but I was going to say a point on number 32, but I decided to move on and I've completely forgotten it. Yeah, if they unite together as many African Americans as possible, and if they could lobby to get tax exemptions and use that money saved, again, I worked out roughly about 60 billion for African Americans. I actually think it would be a bit higher than that. I've conservatized the numbers just in case, but also that's just income tax. If they could be exempt from all sorts, or at least have tax reductions, or look at ways they could learn about like tax-free wealth and things like what Robert Kiyosaki and his team talk about, for instance, who is a Japanese American, but they could learn from him, and they could teach each other, pass on ideas to each other, and that kind of thing. I'm going to move on to number 34. Again, it's a bit annoying. I forgot a point I was going to mention, but number 34. Again, another a controversial one. I say, I guess, Black history for some would be controversial. Like some might say things like, I don't know, they say they're playing the victim, or it's reverse discrimination, or positive discrimination, or whatever other terms people say. But I do think there is a case for supporting the Black community. And again, controversially, I know I talk about I don't believe Black people or other minorities should join the American military or Western militaries, given their imperialistic history and even what they try and do now in the world. I think they'll keep each other much safer, and if they lobby together, again with other minorities as well, they could try to avoid having to be conscripted or joining militaries or whatever, joining the military. And instead of joining the military, I think they should support each other. Like, what if instead of joining the military, African Americans and other minorities supported things like the New Black Wall Street and supported their businesses and communities and see what they could build together. Also, they could learn from other communities, like they're thinking about what sort of things they could have in Black Wall Street. Like they could have, I'm not a big fan of going to fairs, but they could have their own fun fairs, entertainment complexes. I know that in the past they had cinemas, they could have, or at least a cinema, they could have maybe several cinemas, and all sorts of different things like other communities like trying to make themselves as wealthy as possible, obviously. Another word that begins with W, wealthy, I think, as well, like how to build Black wealth. But one of the things I was thinking about is like selling things on QVC. I've got to admit, I don't know a huge amount about QVC, but I know they sell things on their channel. But maybe it would be better if they had their own version of QVC where they sold African American stuff online and that kind of thing as well. Number 35, as I say, I hope to help African Americans to get as wealthy as possible. And each February, I hope to support as many African Americans as possible and build a community of African Americans and their allies like myself, or one of the allies in my case, or whatever, and see how we could help them and listen to their ideas and dreams and stories and that kind of thing. And I guess I forgot to finish my point about saying, what if instead of supporting Western militaries and imperialism, weapons trade, wars and things like that, from a selfish point of view, I have to think of like peace through football, or for any Americans out there, soccer. So I think of like, I think of Italian soccer and Celtic. So I think of like money getting invested into those things instead. But it could be for Italian soccer teams and Celtic, but it could be, again, if they save their tax money, they would be able to, instead of spending on wars and weapons trade and things like that, they could reinvest it in their own communities and maybe help a black diaspora around the world, or even POC around the world generally, especially black people in Africa and Australasia and Europe and all over the world, really. So I hope to support Black Ambition and help them to unite together. Maybe Black Wall Street could host events, for instance, which invite black people, including wealthy black people, African Americans, to come to Black Wall Street, and I think it's in Tulsa. I don't know if the new company's located in Tulsa, but my geography is terrible. But they could invite wealthy African Americans, rappers, singers, sports stars, and all sorts of people who could then go and mentor, teach, train, and invest in other black people, especially young black people, to set up their own business and all that kind of thing. I'm a great believer in, like, as long as you do it in a safe environment, if you start young, you can have a better opportunity to learn from your mistakes from an earlier age. Too late for me to be young, unfortunately, but I'm a great believer in that. Would be a pretty cool thing. And number 36, as I say, I'd love for Italian soccer teams. I'm a bit mad I even wear rival caps and all that kind of thing. But even for Italian soccer teams like AC Milan, Inter Milan, Roma, Juventus, and all sorts of Italian soccer teams having their own academies for African Americans to get into soccer, working with FIFA, which I talked about before. I don't know if I should say this one, but I was thinking, and even though I'd love for them to get wealthy, I'd still love to get more African American guys to get free things. I don't know, not the most professional, but by non-black chicks. So, anyway, moving on. Number 37, similar for Celtic, green and white Celtic. I talked about how I'd love for African Americans to invest into and sponsor Italian teams like AC Milan and also Celtic as well. Yeah, Scottish team. But in that case, I know Snoop Dogg says he's interested in investing in Celtic. I hope he does invest a bit in Celtic, and I also hope he brings in other African Americans like rappers and sports stars and others, wealthy people and all that kind of thing, to invest in Celtic. I'd love for, especially Italian soccer team, or football team, whatever you call them, Roma, AS Roma, to talk against racism and see a benefit in doing so, and say, like, in the future people say, oh yeah, they benefit a lot by being anti-racist because they get investors from all sorts of different backgrounds. I love for African Americans, Arabs, people from Africa itself, Asia, and around the world to invest in AS Roma, global investors, including celebrity investors and that kind of thing, and similar sort of thing for Celtic, and even for Italian soccer teams generally as well, but especially Roma. I suppose there's rules where you can't own more than one team, so I have a bit of a dilemma because of my silly patterns and alliterations. I think of like famous people investing in Fiorentina, but then I love for Roma to be the Giallorossi Galacticos, so I love for celebrities to invest in Roma, I guess. But yeah, due to my silly alliterations, I love for part of me would love for famous people to invest in Fiorentina, and should call like celebs to invest in Cagliari, or however you pronounce it. But anyway, got a bit off topic, I guess. But moving on, number 38. Seeing how African Americans can uplift each other, invest in each other, mentor each other, teach and train and learn from each other. Like an African American who has learned a lot about tech could, or even someone who's black from the black diaspora could pass on what they've learned, either on or offline, to other black people. And again, Black Wall Street could have events where they invite people to come mentor, teach, and train each other, and basically to network together generally, including investing together. And I talked about like how, let's say, a black-owned restaurant or cafe or bar or whatever could have suppliers who are also black or African American. So people black / African American. So like a bar could get its alcohol from other companies or whatever, or it's soft drinks or whatever, it's non-alcoholic beverages or whatever it is, or even their chairs and tables, stools. The building itself could be designed by African Americans and that kind of thing. So they could build a community where they invest and trade together and that kind of thing. So money circulates into their own community and that kind of thing, I guess. Number 39, also supporting each other in all sorts of areas like poetry, art, writing, and things like that, as well as business, music, movies. Again, they could have this in terms of the cinema. It could show all sorts of movies, including those obviously by African Americans as well. And number 40, again, hopefully they'll achieve as much as possible. And on that hopefully positive note, I'm out. And peace and love.